Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. Most writings or videos or whatever on time management, I believe, treats the issue too symptomatically. Um, Many people don't manage their time well because they feel like their life isn't good enough for it to matter. They figure, oh, great, so I'm going to be more efficient. My life's still going to suck. So, preliminary to any tactics about time management, it's really important that you look at the aspects of your life that are central, your relationships, your career, whatever, and see if you're doing everything you can to at least give yourself some realistic hope of improving enough that you care enough to use the following time management tactics. The other thing that I think is that is missing too often in time management is many people are poor at managing time because they're so afraid of failure that they procrastinate a bunch of tasks. Um, and I've written and read a whole lot about fear of failure and such, and there's no magic answer, but the best I can do is this. Um, if you don't try something, you guarantee you fail. And if you try and fail, yes, it may confirm that you're not as smart or as capable as you thought you were, but even that's useful feedback because then you can redirect to something where you have a greater chance of success. But you at least have some chance if you're tackling a task that's not too difficult of succeeding, which of course will improve your career or your life if it's one of those honeydew items on your honeydew list. So you can usually survive the failure and may even benefit from it. And it's your own, if you don't try, you guarantee failure. So I invite you to kind of embrace failure as a possibility. The only thing the only failure you can't survive is something like stage 4 cancer. Um, but short of that, it's usually worth taking the risk. Not something stupid. I'm not going. I would procrastinate as hell going to a boxing ring with even a rank amateur because I get my head kicked in. Um, so, of course, I'm going to ask you to, tackle all the ridiculous tasks. But if your fear of failure um, is a little unreasonable, that the likely benefits would exceed the liabilities, and you could survive a failure, try to retrain yourself so that you really do tackle those tasks rather than when you feel uncomfortable saying, "Oh, I think I'm going to go get a burrito." Um, that's another related point to time management. Successful people really do have to get used to being uncomfortable, rather than escape to something comfortable for the short-term pleasure, but the long-term liability. I mean, there's so much, even if you have a pretty cool career like I have, there's a lot of crap I got to do that I'd really rather not do. I'd rather not do my taxes. I'd rather not do the detailed preparation for an article or radio show. Um, but I say to myself that, I'm better off if I just get comfortable being uncomfortable, not even think about it. Just make it. It's not a choice. It's something I've got to do. Another thing that's helpful before we get to specific little tactics, um, again, this may be obvious, but it's really true. People do often ask me, how do I get so much done? And the big thing, really, one of the big things is that I simply avoid the major time sucks. I'm very aware of time, and so major time sucks like going to a long travel. I resist travel, especially airport travel as much as possible because it's such a huge time suck. I Even if I have to live with the price of telling a relative I'm not coming to their wedding, I feel that those kind of decisions in general are pretty wise. I also don't pursue time-consuming hobbies, even like exercise. I do exercise every day, but rather than join a gym where I've got to, get dressed in the right get up and drive there and park there and do it and then shower and whatever, I do my exercise in ways that don't take much time. For example, I hike vigorously with my dog. I fortunately live in a hilly area, and I will hike down to Trader Joe's and then with full bags of groceries come back while I'm also actually thinking about my next client or what I'm going to write or whatever. So I'm always thinking time effectiveness. I avoid the big time sucks. I don't play golf, which is, an all day affair. So avoid the big time sucks is really critical to getting a lot done. And it really feels good to get a lot done and cross your stuff off the to-do list, and also feel like you're being as contributory as you can. And also, if you're accomplishing a lot, you're going to get ahead more in your career. You're going to have better relationships. You'll just feel like you're more in control of your life. And I'm not here to say, oh yes, we're in control of our life. Life is really complicated. A lot of crap happens that's beyond our control. But one of the things we can do is we can manage our time better, which net makes us feel better about our lives. Another thing I do to manage time well is there are all these little bits of time through the day where you're either waiting in line or sitting in traffic or driving in general, whatever. I have all these sponge activities that I do to make the most of time. Now, sometimes, of course, I veg out like everybody else. But like, for example, when I'm driving in traffic, I've always got a book on CD or on my MP3, that's Bluetooth connected to my car. So I'm listening to an audiobook a lot of the time, which also distracts me from the traffic, keeps me productive. I do tend to listen to a lot of practical books that are related to my career, which I also enjoy. So it gives me pleasure as well as helps my career. Whereas if, for example, if I'm listening to a novel, I'm getting the pleasure, but it's not helping my career. So I'm always thinking this time effectiveness thing. What's the most time effective thing I could do? I keep my Kindle with me. I have a lovely little, lightweight, small little Kindle that fits in my pocket. That's got books in it. So if I'm in a long line for something in a store, or I'm in a waiting room, I've got my Kindle there to read exactly what I want when I want. Next kind of a tip is when there's something you routinely have to do. I have this client who hated, she was a photographer, and she hated doing the bookkeeping, but she ritualized it. The first Friday of the month, or was the last, I don't know, one Friday a month, the first or the last of the month, at 9 a.m., her butt was in the chair, and she would go and do the bookkeeping stuff she had to do, and deliberately linked it next to going to Pilates or yoga, which she liked to do, which she scheduled right afterwards at 10 o'clock. So she only gave herself like 45 minutes to do this task. So she got it all done, felt great about it, and then she linked it to a positive task. That ritualization can really be very helpful. Another tactic that's useful for some people is what's called the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, and it originally got its name because of those tomato-shaped kitchen timers. But any timer will do. A timer on your phone, any old kitchen timer, whatever. You work for 20 minutes. You set your timer for 20 minutes. Work for 20 minutes. It dings. Give yourself a 5-minute break. Work for another 20 minutes. Dings. 5-minute break. Work for another 20 minutes. And you get a 10-minute break. That hour's worth of work is called a Pomodoro, and some people like breaking it up that way, and that works pretty well. But I want to reiterate something I said before, but maybe add a little more clarity to it. There is always a little voice in my ear asking myself, is this the most time-effective use of my time? Is this the most time-effective way to do the task? For example, even as I was preparing this video, I made just a quick outline of my favorite points, simply wrote them in a word processing file, then reordered them in an order that made sense, and have them in front of me. It's right behind my camera now. I see the list of things I want to talk about. So it took relatively little time. I didn't script anything. I didn't spend an inordinate amount of time. And that enables me to create, it's like my 167th video or whatever, enables me to create quality content in a relatively short amount of time. So I'm always thinking, is this the most time-effective activity? And is this the most time-effective way for me to proceed? Now, again, I want to stress there are times I'm not always time-effective. I make a conscious choice to get on the floor and play with my dog, to watch a movie, or whatever. But being conscious about that at least enables you, when you really, to make the choices that you believe would be best for you at that point in time. And in general, most people, especially those who have problems with time management, will get more done. Now I want to talk about just a couple little tactics. One is what I call the 1-second task. Sometimes the hardest part for people is getting started. And so it helps to say, okay, I want, an object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. So I'm going to get started and get into motion. So I'm going to ask myself, what is my next 1 second task? Let's say I dread doing my taxes, which I do, but I do them. I say, okay, I got to start the damn thing. So what is the next 1 second task? Okay, I'm going to separate all my 1099s. It doesn't take 1 second, but it's something easy and fast. Okay, I've done that little, whatever, 1 minute task. Now, what's the next 1 minute task I can do? Okay, I'm going to open the envelope. So I'm going to, I'm going to put them in a pile. I'm going to put a paper clip around it. And I do that, with these little 1 second or 1 minute tasks. And then sometimes, usually, that kind of gets the momentum going and the object in motion tends to stay in motion. The other time that people tend to procrastinate, to get stuck and procrastinate and not do it, is when they reach a hard part. And some of my clients have found it helpful to use this technique called the 1 minute struggle. You struggle for 1 minute on that roadblock. If you haven't solved it within a minute, you say, do I need to just put it aside for now and continue with the project and I'll come back to it later, maybe with fresh eyes I'll do better? Do I need to, as they say, call a friend? Do I need to Google it to try to get a solution? Or is there a way for me to do the task without solving that roadblock, or kind of go around the problem rather than go through it? That's called the 1 minute struggle. Because if you just let yourself keep struggling, staring at a blank screen and struggling for 20 minutes, it's so painful that you want to procrastinate the whole task. The 1 minute struggle can help a lot. Now, of course, if you're reaching roadblocks too often, especially at work, then you really probably do need to look introspectively and ask yourself, am I in the right job? Do I need to get more training so I can have less struggling? So if you're getting too many of those struggles, really take a hard look inward and ask yourself, do you need to get more skilled? Do you need to change jobs? Do you need to change careers? Anyway, that is hopefully a time-effective course in time management and dealing with procrastination. These tips do come from my new book, Careers for Dummies. In any event, I appreciate your watching. I am Marty Nemko. Take care.